Some dramatic breaking news just into CNN on that Ukrainian Airlines flight that crashed, killing 176 people. Remember, this happened just after it took off in Iran on Wednesday. Let's get straight to the Pentagon and CNN's Barbara Starr. Barbara, what do we know?
Well, John, several U.S. officials across the administration are telling CNN, including our own Pamela Brown and Jim Sciutto, that the working theory now is that Iran mistakenly did shoot down that Iranian Boeing 737, the Ukrainian 737 civilian airliner that was flying through Iranian airspace, that it was mistakenly shot down, most likely by an Iranian missile. Mistakenly. No evidence that Iran deliberately did this. And in the president's appearance just now in the White House, he was asked about this very question, and it was most telling what he said. He said that it could have been a mistake by someone in Iran. He said he did not believe there was another scenario, that he very much believed it was a mistake and did not believe, he said it wasn't a question to him of it being a mechanical error. So why is this scenario of a mistaken shoot down by an Iranian missile of this Ukrainian civilian airliner? What could be the possible evidence behind this? Well, the U.S. intelligence community and the U.S. military over that area, especially as events were unfolding with the attack on the U.S. bases by Iranian missiles in the hours before that, were collecting satellite data, radar data, and they went back certainly and looked and scrubbed every piece of that data for any evidence of a so-called external event, something that would have been flying through the air that could have hit the civilian airliner of Ukraine or could have exploded so close to the airliner that it proved to be catastrophic. Apparently, they have found some data indicating this. It could be very possible, CNN is told, that this is a fog of war incident, that the Iranian missile unit, the troops on the ground in Iran at that point, perhaps saw something on their own radar returns, perhaps thought they were under attack and fired. This is why, of course, I think the international aviation community is so anxious to see the black boxes from that airliner to get as much data as they can. But at least for today, right now, Iranian civilian aviation authorities are still not willing to share those black boxes with the international aviation safety community. So at the moment, what it appears to be is what intelligence agencies can derive from looking at the data. We should add that we now know, of course, the U.S. intelligence community in close cooperation with Canadian intelligence services, because they, of course, had a number of their own citizens on board that commercial airliner. John?
Very important breaking news from our Barbara Starr at the Pentagon. Barbara, thank you very much. Come back to us if more comes in. Let's go straight now to Tehran and CNN's Fred Pleitkin. Fred, as you just heard Barbara note, and as you know from your reporting there, the Iranian government has said, we have the black box. We will not turn it over. Is this likely to add pressure to, if not give it to Boeing, to at least give it to some international authority?
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right, John. It certainly is going to add some pressure on the Iranians with the U.S. now coming out with this. We were actually able to get in touch with the head of the Iranian Civil Aviation Organization. This was, I have to add, this was before this news broke, and we specifically asked him about what's going to happen with the black boxes. Now, he says that the Ukrainian investigators have arrived here in Iran. They're working together with the Iranians, apparently. He says that the Iranians have the technology to decipher these black boxes. He says one of the black boxes is damaged and some of the data may have been lost. He also claimed that the Ukrainian investigators are going to be able to download the information from those black boxes tomorrow, he put it. And he says that anything that's on those black boxes would then be available to the world, as he said. Now, again, I have to add that this phone conversation that we had with him took place before this new news broke, so we are trying to get, obviously, back in touch with him as well. There have been several news outlets here John, and officials who have dismissed the theory that the plane would have been shot down by an Iranian missile, some of them saying that this is a distraction, generally saying that it was not the case. Another official, by the way, saying that there was no debris from a missile found at the crash site. Of course, unclear whether or not that is indeed the case. We do know, John, that there are Ukrainian investigators also on the ground here in Tehran. It's unclear whether or not they've been able to actually go to the crash site itself. Of course, we do know that the Ukrainians have said that there's several things that they are looking at to see whether or not or how this plane was taken down, that they are not ruling out that it could have been a missile strike. One of the things that they keep talking about is the Tor surface-to-air missile system, which is a Russian-built surface-to-air missile system, which is short-range, low-altitude, obviously used for planes that are flying at a very low altitude. It's built by the Russians, but from what I've seen in the past, it's also in use by the Iranian military as well. Again, so far, these are only indications. The Iranians are saying they're conducting this investigation, but certainly we're going to obviously wait and see what they come up with in the next couple of days, John.
CNN's Fred Pleitgen on the ground in Tehran. Again, grateful to have you there, Fred, at this very important time. Let's bring in CNN transportation analyst Mary Schiavo, joining us now from Charleston, South Carolina. Mary, I just want to emphasize the Pentagon, U.S. officials are telling CNN this is an operating theory, that they do not have definitive evidence yet, but they clearly believe they have some clues that it is possible that an anti-aircraft missile, some surface-to-air missile, could have been responsible for this. Help me with your expertise. Would the black boxes prove or disprove that?
Well, it could, but unfortunately for a missile strike, and it appears in this case, whatever happened instantaneously, the black box would not capture a missile striking. They would just capture that all of the data ceased flowing, that the plane stopped functioning correctly, that it stopped transmitting data. The cockpit voice recording could certainly capture the noises of a strike, and the pilots might have had time to say a few words, but an external strike of a missile on the flight data recorder would not be captured in any way that would say this is a missile. However, from the MH17 shoot down, we know that it's very readily available to test the pieces for the explosives from a missile, and that signature is different than any explosion from aviation fuel. Same thing they did in TW-800 way back in 1996. They tested for explosives.
Mary, obviously not a lot of trust between Washington and Tehran at the moment, but help me step back, if you will. Iran is a major power. It is a major economy. It is major air traffic. When the Iranians say, we've got this, the Ukrainians are here, we've got this, we will give them the information, is it an aviation administration, absent the event of the last couple days and weeks, that can be trusted in a situation like this?
Well, you know, the trust will have to come in how they conduct the investigation, but we are all signatories to the United Nations treaties, and one of those treaties includes the International Civil Aviation Organization Annex 13 as to how to conduct an air crash investigation. And I've read the Iran preliminary report. Actually, they put that out very quickly. Usually it's at 30 days. And they have given notice to all nations. The United States wasn't mentioned as United States. They only referenced the U.S. as NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board. They invited in Ukraine as a co-lead or co-participant in the investigation, and their preliminary report does follow the treaty that the U.S. has signed and others have signed as to how to conduct. So at this point, they, under our treaties and laws, are allowed to conduct the investigation. The important thing will be if they bring in Canada. 63 Canadians on board. Canada is completely up to speed and up to date on the 737, playing a major role in the 737 MAX 8 grounding. This is not a MAX 8, but they studied the plane. And Transport Canada and the TSB are very capable. So my hope would be if the U.S. can't play a role, that Canada would quickly step into the one of the lead roles. They will do a great job.